Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning, Steve.
Thank you and welcome to the program. Brad, on to you.
Thank you, Francis. Thank you, Judy, and thank you, Steve Phelps, for being here today. I'm not sure exactly in what part of the country you're in right now, but I know all of my friends in North Carolina are waking up to snow this morning, so hopefully it's equally as beautiful for you, Steve.
I'm in sunny Florida. I
Nice.
would say warm Florida, but it's not. It was 39 degrees here in Daytona.
Wow. Oh, well, that's awesome. Well, welcome and thank you so much for doing this again and joining us here. We're excited to talk about, not only some of the things that have happened with NASCAR, but a lot of the places that we're going. And you can really define that in so many different ways. And we're going to cover that over about the next 30 minutes or so. So again, Steve, we appreciate you for doing this.
My pleasure, Brad, to join you again.
Awesome. Well, let's take a quick look back and talk about 2024. And I think the highlight reel from this past season could probably encompass the entire day, and that would just be the highlights. I mean, so many different things happen, and obviously the front-facing part of that is things that happen on the track. So when you look back as the president of NASCAR, Steve, at some of the things we saw this past season, what comes to your mind?
Well, I would say, Brad, I always start with things on the racetrack, and I don't think, and you think about 2024, it certainly didn't disappoint. I thought the racing was arguably the best racing that we've ever had in our history, and I don't think there's hyperbole in that at all. I mean, you have three of the closest finishes of all time, the top seven, three in 1 year alone. We've never had even more than one in that top seven. So to have three, I think it's pretty extraordinary. But I think you go past those three races and you look at the, kind of on balance, what the racing was like. I mean, I go back to the playoffs themselves. I thought our playoffs were just the most compelling, tremendous storylines, but the racing was terrific at every single race in that 10-race playoff system. So I was very happy with the on-track product. We'll certainly go to work with our race teams, our OEMs, our own engineers to try to fine-tune some things. I think Goodyear did a really good job with, at Martinsville with a short track tire that really worked well. I thought that racing was really good. But we'll keep trying to improve on it, and that's kind of the promise that we make to our fans, Brad.
We 19 different winners in a single season, especially considering that this is the third year of the next gen car or Gen 7 car. Honestly, I would have thought, Steve, that this would have been something as time went on, the bigger budget teams would have sort of separated themselves from the field. We had a 6-time winner in Kyle Larson, a 4-time winner in our champion Joey Logano, a handful of 3-time winners and single race winners. The parity that we saw amongst all of the race teams, all of the organizations, seems to be spread pretty wide. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think if you consider, Brad, we had 10 different organizations win at the cup level. That's pretty stout. And I think that the number actually was 18 different winners, not 19. We had 19 2 years ago. I think we had 15 or 16 last year. But to your point, I think everyone probably would have gone where your head was at. So in year three, you would have, the bigger budget teams figure something out and really drive success. And I'd say to some degree that has happened with, you mentioned two multiple winners, right? With Larson with 6 and Joey with 4. Those are two big budget teams that have come to the top. And I think if you look at our final 8, it was 4 different organizations. Our final 4, you had 3 different organizations. And I actually think it's great that in that final 4, you had a newcomer team in 2311, right? It's only been around this is its 4th season. Its 3rd season with 2 cars. I think that's extraordinary. And I expect more of the same. It's hard. I think this is arguably the most competitive form of motorsports in the world. I do think, I'll just speak to our own, just for NASCAR, I think the competition has never been better. And just from the front of the grid to the back of the grid, almost any team can win on any given Sunday. And I don't ever remember in our history actually having that. And that's, I think, we as a sanctioning body are pleased with that, right? I think that's what it's meant to be. And I do think the charters and the charter system has led to that. There are no more starting parks. There are no more, underfunded teams that are just running in the back. You just don't have that anymore. And you see teams that were in the back that are really coming, into the middle of the pack, and even in, fighting for top fives and top tens. If I'm a race fan, I'm excited about that. And then, kind of the bigger budget teams need to continue to try to fight for, kind of the positions that they have. So I think it's, I think we're in an unprecedented era of competition, and I look forward to continuing in 25 and beyond.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And with that competition, you also start to see the benefits off of the racetrack as well. Attendance. Here's the one thing that I love. I almost feel like the narrative has changed just a little bit in that sometimes you have a very cynical audience that if there were 3 empty seats at the track, they would point to those and say, look at those. I feel like a lot more people are counting the full seats and how many more people are coming to the racetrack right now. And that's a really awesome thing to see.
Yeah, I think, attendance, listen, we'd like to see every race a sellout. That's what we will, continue to endeavor to do. Double-digit sellouts again this year. I think we'll see some additional sellouts next year. I think that, when we go to Bowman Gray for the Clash, that'll be a sellout. My expectation is when we go to Mexico City, it will be a sellout. I think that Richmond will be a sellout this year or next year. So I think just continuing to chip away at it to create full grandstands everywhere, that's what I believe we should have. And we'll continue to work on, the race day experience for our fans to make it better and better, because it is a more competitive environment there than it's ever been, right? Kind of keeping up with the Joneses, and whether that's the Jerry Joneses or other Joneses, it's, that race day experience is important, and continuing to invest in fan experiences. Obviously they're coming, seeing great racing, but then the capital expenditure that we need to do, and past just maintenance capital, it's how do you create things that are unique and different for, new fans and long-term fans alike. And that's what we are going to continue to do, because we've invested a lot of money. You look at our facilities, each of our facilities is hardwired, with high-speed opportunities for, for internet, because and other opportunities to take robust things that happen in the racetrack and make sure that race fans are able to share those out in the world. Because if you don't have connectivity at a racetrack, you're missing something, right? And whether it's phone calls or it's, texts or whatever it might be, the ability to send video across your device to family and friends, whether it's social media or otherwise, is an important thing for us. But it's expensive, right? We spent $50 million at our 12 racetracks to put in, permanent fiber. So there would be strong connectivity. And that's what the fans expect, because they're getting it at other facilities as well that are not, that are in stick and ball sports. So we've got to keep up with what is happening there and make sure that we are investing into the things that make for a more compelling experience.
Yeah, for sure. Especially when you have those close finishes or racing in the rain, or, all of the different things that we see. For people to be able to share that has just been a great thing and a great investment as well. Well, Steve, I hear from a lot of people at NASCAR, and one of the phrases that you're famous for saying is next year is our most important year. And that held true this year that will hold true next year and in 2026 and so on and so forth. So let's look ahead to 2025 now. We're kicking it off with a new media rights deal, unlike any that we've seen in NASCAR.
Yeah, I think that it's really important, I think, Brad, and we were very deliberate in what we were trying to achieve with our media rights negotiations, which were concluded obviously a year ago. And now they take center stage when we started Bowman Gray, early next year. And you look at the mix that we have from a media perspective, you have broadcast, obviously, which is really important, with Fox and NBC. Then you have a pure streamer in Amazon, which we think is really important. We need to test the market to make sure that that streamers look at NASCAR like they do with stick and ball sports, that we can actually make this work. And I know we can. And I think we have the right partner in Amazon. I think what they've done with the NFL in their 3 years has been extraordinary. You look at the growth that they've experienced, it's really good. They take a fresh look at the production value and what that looks like. And I think that will work well. And then you transition, with the in-season tournament that they will start and the seeding that will then go into Warner Brothers Discovery or Turner Sports, with, obviously cable and streaming with Max. I think it's good and that a nice balance between the two. And then we head back to a mixture of broadcast and cable with NBC as well. I think that's a good mix. And then importantly, with the CW and the Xfinity series, to have a full year, 33 races on broadcast television or over the air. And I think it's a great mix. It's really important for us. I do believe that these 5 media companies are going to importantly promote the sport more than it's ever been promoted. And that's really important. We need to make sure that race fans know where to go. And I've heard that from a lot of folks that say, well, they're not going to know where to go. We are going to have a megaphone and blast where these opportunities for race fans to go and watch our races, starting with Fox and then to FS1. And then just consider the first part of the year, you're going to have Fox promoting, with the NFC Championship game, promoting the 500 and the Clash. And then at the Clash, you're going to have, promoting the Daytona 500. The following week at the Super Bowl, which Fox has, they'll be promoting the Daytona 500. Warner Brothers Discovery with their Max product, or the product on Max, that'll be a subscription product. They'll be promoting that significantly with the in-car cameras and kind of that curated content that will come through there. Then you'll have obviously the CW promoting the Xfinity race and the Daytona 500. And then you're going to have Amazon talking about practice and qualifying, because it's going to be on week 2 when we go to Atlanta. It's going to be on Amazon. And so you've got all these massive promotion that is going to happen. And I think that's a good thing for the sport. And the only one that won't be promoting of our 5 media partners is going to be NBC. And they'll certainly pick up the slack when it's their turn to do that. And they do such a great job with promotion, and obviously just such a great job with their production value as well.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because, and it is twofold. It is number one, there is the core NASCAR fan. They're going to want to watch the races. We've got to tell them where it's going to be. But people always ask, and the big question in promoting, how are you putting NASCAR in front of a new audience? How are you bringing new people in? And I think what gets lost in the wait, where is the race right now, which people are going to pick up on, is the fact that all of these partners now are going to be introducing NASCAR to their audiences that aren't already NASCAR fans.
Yeah, and I think it goes past that, Brad. I think because we need to do our part too. We just can't rely on them to do what they are going to do to promote the sport, and they're going to. But if you look at the $60 million productions facility that we've just came online in January of this year, and what it means for race fans to have robust content that will be coming to them through different channels, right? Our own channels, like NASCAR.com, our social channels, but importantly, YouTube and Netflix and what Amazon's going to do from a content perspective and other outlets, that's going to be enormous. So I just look at NASCAR Full Speed on Netflix. The audience was, significantly, the majority was female, which is obviously important. Most were not existing race fans that were watching it. And I think it created race fans. It created an opportunity for us to be in someone's consideration set based on channels that normally, are looking at fans who are potential fans that just aren't coming to our channels. And so you have to meet those fans where they are. And if they're on Netflix, great, we're going to meet them there. If they're on Amazon, great, we're going to meet them there. If they're on YouTube or any other channel, we're going to meet them there. And then we have this growing data warehouse, which is over 20 million strong. When we understand who they are, where they are, what motivates them, who their favorite driver is, what they want, we can serve them content as well. So I consider it, the things that are coming out of that building in Concord at our new productions facility are live event production. So that will be on the weekends, and we're producing about 50% of all the content that fans will experience next year will come out of that building and the people that work in that building. This year was only 14%. It is a massive ramp up. And we need to do that. And we need to make sure that we're holding ourselves to a standard that is as good or better than anyone. And that's what my expectation is. And then you have content creation. So I kind of think of it as green flag to checkered flag. And then the production of the content kicks in, and that content's important. So checkered flag, you plug into the content and you provide robust content to that race fan, meet them where they are, and then content all week, and then you're back to live event production. And it just continues all year long, and including the off season, because I think that, we need to do a better job keeping our fans engaged in the off season to just keep them thirsty. And so when you get to the Clash, they're ready. And I think that's really what happens, certainly with hardcore fans, right? They're already, you're hearing, I can't wait for the season to start. It's been forever, since we've been racing, which is, I don't know, a month. But I'm ready. And I think there are a lot of hardcore fans that are ready too.
I would agree. As a guy who would be fine if we just did this 52 weeks a year, I can't wait for February 2nd. But I do want to echo what you said about the production facility. I've spent a lot of time in there, and it's not just the facility that you guys built, which truly is state of the art. I mean, through every door, a lot of wow moments for a tech geek like me, but the amazing people and talent that you've put in there as well. It is truly an amazing facility, and a lot of the things that have come out of it. I do want to move on to something else new for 2025, and that is a couple of new tracks coming. Well, maybe one old track, and one new to the Cup Series coming online, starting off February 2nd with Bowman Gray Stadium, and then we get to go to Mexico City as well. Let's talk about those two events.
Yeah, I think the Bowman Gray to me is a kind of a nod. So we did 3 years of the Clash at the Coliseum, and I thought it was really good, and for a lot of reasons. One, we showed that we were not afraid to take chances on doing things differently. And I think we did that at the Clash, building a quarter-mile racetrack inside an iconic facility. And, year 3 was tough, right? We pulled up what we did at the Coliseum by a day, which we had never done in our history, which was the right thing to do because it rained for 3 straight days. But I think a pivot now to, kind of a throwback, to Bowman Gray, a historic track that has lots of roots in NASCAR, obviously. And I think that to me is, I think it's going to be terrific. I think the racing is going to be a ton of fun. I think it's a great way to start the season. And, how long are we going to be there? I don't know. Are we going to do 3 years again like we did at the Coliseum? I have no idea. But that's the exciting part. And, what our team has done from a schedule variation standpoint, including Mexico City, I think really works. And I think we've seen that it has worked. You know, the racing in Chicago and how great that's been, other than, you know, the torrential rain that we've had. I think it's a nod to what our media partners want. I think it's a nod to what our race fans what they want. And I'm really excited about Mexico City, and, you know, to take a cup race to Mexico City and race at that racetrack. You know, the excitement down there is incredible, and I think it'll translate to here. And I think, you know, I think we'll have significant ratings. So we took one of the Richmond races and brought that to Mexico City. It's hard, right? I'm sure there are lots of fans in the Richmond area that are not very happy that we did that. But as we look at what we believe is in the best interest in the growth of the sport, that actually was a pretty easy decision. And I do think that the fans in Richmond and the move back to the Saturday Night Cup race is another nod to, you know, kind of long-term race fans and the tradition that is part of NASCAR. And so as we look at these things, Brad, I think it's as much, how do you have a nod to, you know, the history of the sport while accelerating the growth by doing things unique and different. And that's something that I think we've done over the past 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, I would agree, because there have been a lot of anticipated races on the schedule, from the first time we went to Coda, to the Coliseum, to North Wilkesboro, to the Chicago Street Course, to what we've got coming up with Mexico and Bowman Gray. It seems like every year we're talking about, man, I can't wait to see this for the first time. With that said, Steve, a lot of people wonder, where do we go next? Do we go north of the border? Do we go overseas? Roger Penske just bought Long Beach. You know, what are we looking at on the horizon?
I listen, I don't know, Brad. We've got a lot of things that are kind of in the hopper, and things that we are looking at. I do think I would like to see a time when, you know, we're not announcing the schedule in September, that we are looking longer term at what we may want to do, in, you know, for the schedule moving forward. Whether that happens in 26 earlier, that would be our goal. But to me, it would be nice to announce at least pieces of our schedule, if not the entire schedule, that looks more than a single year at a time. Is that going to happen? I'm hopeful. It's hard, right? Because you're making bets early on things, and you need to make sure that the relationships with these tracks, particularly the tracks that we don't own, are, you know, in a good place. And but I do think the one thing I will say is that schedule variation is going to continue. We are not going to rest on this schedule and just say, hey, it's just this schedule and that's the way it's going to be. I think for us, looking at different marketplace, whether it's north of the border, whether it is other opportunities domestically or other places around the world, all of those things are being looked at this particular point. And, you know, Steve O'Donnell and Ben Kennedy and that group, I think, are being very thoughtful about it. You know, for me, it's really serving race fans. So if you think about Chicago, or you think about the class at the Coliseum, you know, more than 70% of those that bought a ticket to both those races, or both those, you know, facilities, had never been to a NASCAR race. That's a good thing for us, you know. And is it difficult to take them from other racetracks? It is, but I think it's really important for us to do that. And, you know, we're willing to invest in, like, Chicago financially we'll just say it's a difficult race for us. But, you know, it costs $50 million to put that race on. And we unfortunately didn't sell $50 million worth of tickets and sponsorship. And that's what it is. But was it a smart decision for us? I believe it was. I think it actually helped us with both Amazon coming on board and Warner Brothers Discovery coming on board. And we heard from both their CEOs that that was the case, because this is a sport that was willing to invest in itself and drive innovation that leads to growth. And that's what we're going to continue to do, whether it's the schedule or anything else, frankly, Brad.
I like that. I want to circle back to the competition side and the Gen 7 race car. We've been in this for 3 years now, and a lot's evolved. You mentioned tires. We've seen aerodynamic changes. We've seen competition on intermediate tracks be some of the best we've ever seen, and really now growing into the short tracks in a big, big way. Martinsville was a great example of that. I don't even want to like specifically target one aspect. When you think of where we are now with NextGen and where it's going, what comes to your mind?
Well, I think it's, as I talked about earlier, Brad, I think we'll continue to fine tune what that looks, what that car is. And it's an industry-wide thing. It's not just, hey, NASCAR is going to do this, this, and this. It really is working with our OE partners, working with Goodyear, working with our race teams. And we're in constant collaboration with those groups, with those stakeholder groups. I think there's some other opportunities for us in the lower series to make some changes. What those look like, I don't know. But we'll keep iterating on the next gen car. I think, we're looking at some things in the Xfinity series, nothing to announce now. And, I think there's some things that we need to do with our, with our race teams in the Xfinity series, as well as OEs that are existing, and then potential new OEs that could be in that series and in our truck series. And I think that's important for us. We are very active in looking at new OEMs that will come to the sport, or we're hopeful will come to the sport. Varying degrees of conversations that are happening, some more advanced than others, but I'm bullish. I think we'll find a new OE that will come race with us in, I'll call, short to, midterm.
Steve, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for the leadership, and we look forward to what happens between now and February 2nd, but most of all, when we hit the track again at Bowman Gray Stadium on the 2nd of February. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Thanks, Brad.
EPARTRADE is a digital platform that we've created basically to make life easier in the business community of auto racing.
EPARTRADE, there is no e-commerce. It's literally a connection just like at a trade show. So now, any time of the year, a buyer could reach out to a supplier.
When you see a product that you're interested in, all you need to do is click on request more information, and then from there it is forwarded directly to the buyer or to the supplier.
EPARTRADE really eliminates having to travel, closing down your shop. Now you have a place to showcase globally your racing product and technology.
Looking for a quick fix of motorsports news? The Speed Sport Daily is what you need. It's a free racing newsletter delivered directly to your email every day. We'll cover the winners and the losers and tell you who's making news off the track. It's NASCAR, NHRA, World of Outlaw, IndyCar, and so much more. Go to speedsport.com today and get signed up for America's free racing newsletter and get your daily motorsports fix. The Speed Sport Daily.
Land speed record holder George Poteet's Speed Demon rocketed 481 miles per hour at the Bonneville Salt Flats. You don't go that fast without ARP fasteners.
There is no way that we could go the speed that we've gone, the number of times we've gone, with a lesser quality bolt than ARP supplies to us. And we absolutely wouldn't be where we were today if it weren't for ARP.
When failure is not an option, it's ARP-bolts.com.
We're Performance Plus Global Logistics. Our team of dedicated performance industry and logistics experts get valuable cars and components to the track on time in top condition. We provide expedited logistics solutions for the performance industry using direct routes instead of deferred options, and communicate all necessary information to the appropriate resources to meet regulations and ensure a smooth transit and secure delivery, both domestically and internationally. And we exceed customer expectations by providing best-in-class service with an efficient and cost-effective system in place. Contact us today to book your next shipment.
Scott Lewis & Associates, the sales, marketing, and branding specialist for the automotive performance industry since 1988. We get our manufacturers on track by opening an extensive distribution network, providing product training to sales staff, creating fully integrated sales and marketing strategies, building successful industry partnerships, attending trade shows, events, and races, offering first-class support to customers. SLAI delivers solutions that win you sales. To get in touch with an SLAI representative, call 516-378-6100. Go to scottlewisinc.com or email info@scottlewisinc.com.
With roots in the Midwest that date back well before the Model T, Fifth Third Bank has a long history of serving the needs of automotive companies. While much has changed over the years, our passion for helping businesses put cars on the road and on the track has not. Today, we are more committed than ever as a member of SEMA, a founding member of PRI, and a sponsor of multiple race teams across several racing series.
For over a decade, Fifth Third Bank has been a staunch supporter of our industry and a great partner for many companies in the motorsports field.
Our business has been growing extremely fast, and really we could not be where we are today without Fifth Third. They provided amazing strategic advice, the capital we need to support our phases of growth.
They are true partners for me now, and what they do with their involvement in motorsports is untouched in this community.
Where can we take your business? Fifth Third Bank.
You work as hard as your truck, and you have no time for downtime. That's why more truck owners trust Blue Def, America's #1 diesel exhaust fluid brand. Each batch is guaranteed pure, so you can avoid costly repairs caused by inferior DEF. Demand America's best for your truck. Blue Def and Blue Def Platinum. Put trust in your truck.
When it comes to pushing the limits of performance, the pros know there's no room for compromise. At Crower Cams, we don't just engineer camshafts and valve train components, we redefine what power means. Since 1955, Crower Cams has been the name trusted by racers, engine builders, and gearheads around the globe. Whether you're building a street machine, a dragster, or a track car, Crower Cams provides the muscle you need to dominate. And with Crower, victory is within your reach.
For over 25 years, Wisconsin-based C-Tech Manufacturing has been engineering and manufacturing the toughest, most accessible aluminum tool drawers, cabinets, carts, and tactical storage solutions for America's hardest working professionals. Whatever you need to store and however you need to store it, put your trust in C-Tech Manufacturing. We build it better. Visit our new website at ctechmanufacturing.com or give us a call at 715-355-8842.
If you're watching this video, you might be wondering, What is WPC? WPC is a surface treatment designed to reduce friction and increase the strength of metal parts. As much as it might seem like a coating, WPC is actually a surface treatment. Think of it like shot painting, but the media is much finer, like talc. So what you're left with is a super hard, smooth surface that actually has some proprietary dry lubricants embedded within it. For more information, visit WPCtreatment.com.